Good morning, students. So now we'll be doing types of insurance. Yesterday you have studied till insurance. So now we'll be doing types of insurance. So as you can see the chart here, it is divided into two: life insurance and general insurance. And then general insurance is further divided into three. That is marine, fire and other insurance. So let's start with the basic one, with the first one, that is life insurance. Okay, so life insurance, first thing, it is a contract, okay, or an agreement. Now a contract between whom? The insurer and the insured, okay, under which the insured is the person who is going to get the insurance, and the insurer is the one, or you can say insurer is the insurance company. Okay, so it is a contract under which the insurance company, they are sure to pay a sum of money at the maturity of policy. Policy means at the time of death of policy holder, or means whatever, for whatever reason he is taking the insurance, or whichever is earlier, for whatever he is taking, then that is means the policy time, or the time means whichever will come earlier, any accident or whatever, for whatever he is taking, so that will be considered. Okay, so for a fixed consideration, and that is run for a fixed consideration, that is called premium. So at the expiry of the time period of the policy means the term for which it is taken. So at the expiry of the time period of the policy holders, he get the claim, and at the death of policy holder, his nominated representative gets the claim. Got it? So basically life insurance, it is a contract to which the insurer, in consideration of a premium, that means they get the premium, undertakes to pay the person for whose benefit the insurance is effected a sum of money on the death of the person whose life is insured, or in his attaining a certain age, whatsoever will come first. Understood? So now the life insurance business, it is carried on in the private sector by various companies nowadays. Like you might have heard about ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. Okay, then Max New York Life Insurance, Allianz Bajaj Life Insurance. So these are carried on by the private sectors. Okay, so what can you conclude from there? The conclusion is that the life insurance furnishes a sense of security. Okay, the person whose life is insured is called the assured also. Whose life is insured, or you can say the insured, is also called as assured. And the consideration paid to the insurance, that insurer, that is insurance company, what they are getting, what is paid by the insured to the insurance company, that is called premium. And the periodical payments made by the assured or the insured towards the total premium are known as installments. So usually non-payment of any installment of premium brings the insurance contract to an end. Got it? So these are some of the types of life insurance. Then elements of life insurance. Now in all the types of insurance, you will be studying about elements of life insurance, and these elements are those principles which you have studied in the last lecture. Okay, the principles of insurance which you have studied, these are the only elements of the types of insurance. So first one is valid contract. What is the main valid contract? Means whatever they are signing, whatever agreement they are signing, that should be valid. That means all the essential conditions, all the essential documents have to be submitted, and it has to be means a valid contract. Got it? Then utmost good faith. Now these two, utmost good faith and insurable interest, they are the two basic principles. Okay, they both should have, the insurer and the insured both should have a good faith among each other. Insurable interest, he should have, the one who's taking the insurance should have the proper interest on the means on his life, or for whatever purpose he is taking. It must have insurable interest in the life of the assured at the time of taking policy. He should have the proper interest in that. Not a contract of indemnity. So yesterday also I have told you, indemnity is not applied in case of life insurance, because in other cases, in other insurance, fire insurance, marine insurance, goods cannot be brought back, but losses can be covered. But here what can, the life cannot be covered, the life cannot be bring back. Okay. Then comes types of life insurance policies. So the first one is whole life policy. So under this policy, what happened? Claim is payable only after the death of the policy holder. Until and unless the policy holder will not die, he will not get the claim. And the small amount is payable as a premium on these policies by the member. And then you can see premium is payable for a fixed period, say 20 years. Understood? Then next is endowment policies. So those policies where the amount is policies payable either at the time of death or at the expiry of the term of the policies, as it's written here, 20 years, 50 years. So whatever will come first, either his death or this period will expire. So whatever will come first, he will get the amount of the policy. Understood? Then joint life policy. So name is suggesting joint. So when two or more persons, they take a life policy, like husband wife. Okay. So when they take a life policy jointly, it is called joint life policy. So in the event of death of any one of them, the others get the insurance claim. Okay, and it is taken by usually by the partners in the firms also. Then annuity policy. So under this, the amount of claim is not paid in lump sum. Okay, the amount of claim is not paid in lump sum at the expiry. If the time period will expire, he or she, means whosoever will get the claim policy, the amount of claim, it will not be given in the lump sum. That means altogether he is not going to get that. But the fixed annual installments are given up to a fixed period or a death of a person. Then children's endowment policy. So these are taken, as the name is suggesting, either for the purpose of education of children or the marriage expenses of the daughters. Okay, so the insurer here agrees to pay a certain sum when the child will attain a certain age. Okay, and premium is payable by the person entering into the contract. But if in case he dies before the maturity, so no further premium is payable. Got it? The next after life insurance is fire insurance. So under fire insurance, the insurer undertakes to indemnify any loss of insured on the event of subject matter is destroyed by the fire. If any losses are due to fire, then that will come under fire insurance. So in consideration to that, he receives a specified amount as a premium, and the claim is payable only if the loss occurs due to fire. Got it? So the insurer is not bound to pay claim if the loss occurs due to something else or anything similar to fire but not by fire. So it is a contract to indemnify. That means if something has happened due to not the fire but something similar to fire, then that will be contract of indemnify. So only the actual loss of goods can be indemnified. Understood? See, there must be an actual loss. The fire is accidental and non-intentional. It shouldn't be done intentionally. Now we talk about elements of fire insurance. So as I said, the principles are going to be same, the elements. Okay, so the insurable interest, for getting any property insured against fire, the concerned person must have insurable interest in it. Okay, then only he can take the fire insurance policies. And then utmost good faith, both should have the full faith and they should disclose each and every information regarding the property, or the company should tell them regarding the policies, rules, regulations and everything. Okay. Then indemnity, the policy holder of the fire insurance, he has the right to get the compensation of actual loss due to fire, not the insured amount. Okay, it means fire insurance is a means of safety only, not to earn profits out of it. Means for whatever he has taken, whatever loss has been occurred, for that much only he will get the claim, not for the whole property. And in no case the claim paid more than the actual loss. Then proximate cause, as I said, it should not be intentionally done. Okay, it should be accidental only, not intentionally. So these were some of the elements of fire insurance. And the third one, as you can see here, is marine insurance. So marine insurance, it is a contract. Again, it's a contract of indemnity under which the insurance company, they promises to compensate the insured for any loss arising out of marine risk. Okay, that's understood by the name as well. Understood. So in brief, you can say that marine insurance is a contract under which the insurance company, they promise to compensate for any damage arising out of marine risk or marine losses. Okay, then types of marine insurance: ship or hull insurance. Now the ship, it can also face same risks which are faced by the cargo. Okay, so ship being very costly, therefore got insured by the shipping company. So hull insurance is insurance of only ship, not the cargo. Okay, it is only for the ship, not the cargo. So cargo insurance. Cargo means goods in the ship, the goods which are transported from one place to another, that is only cargo. So cargo is insured against sea perils. Perils means damage. Okay, so in the event of loss, a compensation equal to the value of cargo plus a specific profit is given. Okay, and the amount of premium, it depends upon the creditability of shipping company, nature of cargo, distance, nature of perils, etc. Then comes freight insurance. It's not freight, okay, it's freight. So when the goods are sent through ship, the freight is either paid in advance or it is paid when the goods reach at the destined port. So that is freight insurance. Risk of loss of freight. Understood? Then elements, essential elements: contract of indemnity, it can be recovered, the loss can be recovered. Utmost good faith, both should have the faith on each other. Insurable interest need not to be present at the time of taking policy, but must exist at the time of loss. When it is happening, at least at that time he should have the proper interest on that. Okay, and he shouldn't take it lightly that yes, now he has taken the insurance, now he is free, he will get the amount back. It shouldn't be like that. Then proximate cause, there should be a proper cause for the damage. Now, differences between life, fire and marine insurance. Life insurance, maturity is sure or death is sure, but in fire it is not. Same with the marine, it is very uncertain. Okay, so in case of life it's sure, but fire and marine it's not sure whether it will happen or not. Then period. So fire insurance, it is normally life insurance, it is normally taken for a long period. Fire insurance, it is for 1 year. Marine insurance also for 1 year, so it is short term. Then insurable interest, in case of life insurance it must exist. Same in fire also, same in this marine also. In case of fire, it should be both at the time of taking policy, at the time of loss. Insurable, and in case of marine insurance, it should be at the time of loss only. Then premium. So premium, in case of in case of life insurance, it depends upon the age of the insured and the term of the policy. In case of fire insurance, it depends upon the amount insured. More the amount insured, more will be premium. Okay, and in case of marine, it depends totally upon the nature of perils or nature of damage. Then payment of premium, how is it done? You can read it: monthly, quarterly, half yearly or yearly installments. Then at the time of taking policy in fire and marine. Indemnity, in life it cannot be brought back, the life cannot be given back, it cannot be covered, but in fire and marine it can be. Objective, in life, protection and investment. In fire, cover the risk of fire. Marine covers the sea perils. Surrender value. Life insurance it can be surrendered before maturity. In fire and marine insurance, it can never be surrendered before expiry. Then double insurance. In life insurance, two people can take, means from the different companies, but in fire and marine insurance, it's not possible. Then policy amount, it can be any amount. Okay, in life it can be any amount. Then for fire, there is a limit. Fire and marine, there is a limit for how much they have to take it. Got it? Sorry. So these things you have done now, elements of fire, marine, everything. Wait for a second. Other insurance, they are like health insurance, motor vehicle insurance, burglary insurance, cattle insurance. The names are only suggesting for what purpose is it taken. Okay, crop insurance, sports insurance, third party insurance, employers liability insurance, fidelity insurance to cover the risk of loss due to fraud or malpractices by the employees, personal accident. Now the third element is communication services. So communication, you all know, it refers to the flow of information. Okay, and means in the modern world, it has converted the whole world into a global village. It is necessary for establishing the link between two business units for prosperous business. So communication, you can say, it is the exchange of ideas and views between the individuals or between the group. Then communication, it may be either internal or external. Internal, which is done within the organization, and the external, outside the organization. Then comes postal and telecom services. So the modern postal system, it was introduced by the Britishers, and therefore this is also one of the major or many other improvements which the Britishers introduced in our country. Okay, so postal services of a country, it have been the one company which has been providing us with the various services for centuries. Got it? They are available throughout the country, and even the most backward and geographical hard stations, they are still connected with the capital of the state or the important cities through this postal services. So these postal services, they are divided into two: financial facilities and mail facilities. So financial facilities, if we talk about it, they are provided through the post office saving scheme. Okay, they are provided through the post office saving scheme, like Kisan Vikas Patra, National Saving Certificates, etc. Then the next one is mail facilities. So mail services, it consists of parcel facilities, that is the transmission of articles from one place to another, like greetings, media post, direct post. All these are the some of the examples or some of the types of mail facilities. Okay, telecom services, you all know about it. Then the last one here is transportation. So it means the movements of good from one place to another. Movements of good from one place to another, that is understood, that you all know. What is it? Importance, helps to widen the market. Utility, creates the place utility and time utility, and then helps in large scale production. Okay, these are some of the importance of transport. See, division of labor and specialization, helps in stabilizing prices, standard of living improved, all this. Then the warehousing. The last one is warehousing. So warehouses, they are for the storage. They are the places where the goods are stored so that they can be used for a long period of time and they can be kept stored for the long period of time safely. Okay. Types of warehouses: private, public, government, bonded. So the first one, as you can see here, is private warehouses. So these are the warehouses which are owned privately, first of all, and by the large business houses. Okay, especially by the large organizations, so that they can store their goods on those warehouses, because since they are large, they are producing goods on large quantity, so they are having the warehouses as well, so that they can store the goods there for a long period of time. Then public warehouses, owned and managed by some agencies whose main occupation is to provide storage space. Okay, they are opened by some other agencies, but why are they opened? They are opened so other private companies, those who don't have the places to store the goods, they can store their goods in this place, and for storing their goods in these places they have to pay certain fees. Okay, and they have to obtain a license, and the working is subject to some government regulations. As the name is suggesting, public warehouses, some of their rules and regulations, they are decided by whom? By the government. Also known as duty paid warehouses, means the money which is paid, the fees which is paid by the people, the private companies, those who are storing their goods in these places, that is duty. That's why it is also called as duty paid warehouses. Then bonded warehouses. Bonded warehouses, first of all, it is owned by the private individuals, then supervised by custom authorities, licensed government. It collects the custom duties for the importers when it is released. So if some goods are coming to our country from some another country, then these goods are to be stored for some period of time. They have to be stored in bonded warehouses. Got it? They are licensed by the government. They have the license from the government to collect these goods. The importers, when they bring the goods here, they have to store. If they don't have any proper place, then these goods have to be stored in the bonded warehouses. Okay. Then government warehouses, the name is only suggesting they are owned by the government. Then for what it is? For central and state government warehouses, FCI, these are some of the examples. Then cooperative warehouses, owned by cooperative organizations. You have studied about cooperative organizations in the last chapter. So they are owned basically by these organizations. They are storing their goods in these these warehouses. Functions of warehousing. First is consolidations. Consolidation means receiving the goods from different companies. Like as I said, in the public warehouses, they are taking it from the various companies. Okay, so receiving it from various plants and then dispatch to the particular customer, getting variety of goods from various plants and then giving it to the particular customers. Then breaking the bulk. Once they have attained all the goods together, now it has to be broken into various parts. Okay. Stockpiling, storage of surplus product. Stockpiling means maintaining the stock now. Okay. Then value added services, their packaging, labeling, grading, everything is done there. Value added services, extra services which they are providing. Then price stabilization. Whenever there is a supply, that time they are taking out the product. When there is no supply of the product, they can be easily stored. Understood? So then financing. It may be available by pledging commodities to the warehouse keeper, either from himself or from the bank on the warehouse receipt. Okay, it also helps. It also provides the financial assistance. So